Imagine waking up to a meme that perfectly captures years of waiting. A giant dam labelled government shutdown, holding back a flood of spot crypto ETFs from a town of eager crypto investors downstream. That's exactly what happened to me this morning. A top wealth manager shared this viral image to hint that our long wait for an XRP ETF might finally be about to end. And it could just be weeks away. Now, as someone who's kind of clung on to my XRP since early 2020, through the lawsuit hell and even hype heaven, I had to find out, is this floodgate about to burst? And if so, am I, and are you, truly ready for what comes next? Now, I am an XRP true believer. I've been holding my stash since early 2020, and let me tell you, it's been one hell of a ride. Right, from the early days dreaming of moonshots to the shock of a massive SEC lawsuit nearly crashing the party, to this very moment where whispers of a bona fide XRP ETF are suddenly everywhere. I've seen it all, and today I want to share a story, my story, of why the next 2 weeks could be absolutely monumental for XRP. We're going to unravel what that meme really means, explore the timeline that experts are whispering about for a spot XRP ETF launch, and I'll even show you how I'm preparing for it right now. Think passive income experiments and a crazy exchange sign-up strategy. So to make sure that I'm ready for whatever happens next, by the end of this video, you're going to not only understand the news, you're going to feel like you've lived it with me. And who knows, you might pick up a few ideas of your own crypto journey along the way. So strap in. This isn't just news. It's a personal adventure through the world of XRP that you won't want to click away from. Let's start with that meme, because it's the perfect metaphor for what's happening right now. 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝘶, an ETF analyst and president of Nova Duos Wealth Management, posted an image of a huge dam holding back water. On the dam, big letters read government shutdown behind it. A wall of water labeled spot crypto ETFs, and below a tiny little village labeled investors. Now, in other words, all of those spot crypto ETFs, including one for XRP, are ready and raring to go. But Uncle Sam's little funding squabble has jammed up the works like a log in a pipe. Now, if you're not been following, or if you haven't been following, here is the scoop, right? The US government went into a partial shutdown on October 1st, 2025, after Congress just couldn't agree on a budget. So what happens? Well, a bunch of federal agencies, including the SEC, suddenly go into sleep mode. And guess what? Approving new ETFs is not considered an emergency service. So all of those applications for spot crypto ETFs, things like Solana, Cardano, XRP+, others for Litecoin and so forth, they got put on ice overnight. Now, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝘶 is hinting that this freeze might finally be thawing. Now, he believes that Washington could sort out this shutdown within the next 2 weeks, and the moment that the government is back to business, that dam is going to break. In fact, 𝗗𝗁𝘶 specifically said that XRP, Solana, and Litecoin ETFs are lined up and ready to launch as soon as DC flips the lights back on. So let's think about that then. Right, we could be just days away from the first ever US spot XRP ETF. Now, for context, a spot ETF means a fund that actually holds the asset, in this case, XRP, and lets investors buy shares of that fund on the stock market. It's a pretty big deal because it gives everyday investors and institutions a regulated, simple way to get exposure to crypto through their brokerage accounts. Now, we've seen how Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum products opened the floodgates for those cryptos, right? And now XRP might be next. But let's not get too far ahead. What makes 𝗗𝗁𝘶 so confident that this 2 weeks is the magic number? Well, it's actually partially reading the tea leaves of politics and maybe a little bit of hope too. Right? The shutdown has been going on for weeks already, and historically, These standoffs, they don't last forever. In fact, prediction markets like Polymarket have thousands of dollars betting on when this shutdown will end. And most bettors are putting their money on mid-November or earlier for a resolution. Now, one popular bet suggests that the government will open by November 23rd, 2025 at the latest, which, funnily enough, aligns perfectly with 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍's kind of 2-week theory window and would avoid, breaking the record for the longest shutdown ever. Meanwhile, of course, a prominent XRP community figure, Vincent van Code, we'll talk about him later, thinks that even after the shutdown ends, the SEC might actually drag its feet another month before giving any green lights. Now, he's essentially saying, cool your jets. Even if DC opens tomorrow, don't expect an XRP ETF until late November or even December. So on one hand, we have some wild optimism, ETFs in early November, basically imminent. And on the other, we have cautious optimism, ETFs by the end of the year after some bureaucratic lag. Either way, the fact that we're even talking about an XRP ETF this year is something that would have sounded a bit crazy just a year or two ago. Now, you might be wondering, how can we be so sure that these ETFs will launch once the SEC is back? Can't the SEC just say no? It's a great question, right? It turns out that the issuers of these XRP ETFs have been extremely proactive. While the SEC was twiddling its thumbs during the shutdown, companies like Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, and others were updating all of their paperwork for their XRP funds. They filed amended S1 forms and even revised ticker symbols and reserving ticker symbols, for their XRP ETFs, things like Grayscale's GXRP and Franklin Templeton's XRPZ, right, just to be ready to go when they get the green light. Now, they basically said, we're not waiting around, right? We've got everything set so that the second that they're back, the dear SEC, you have no reason to delay us even further. Now, Nate 𝗗𝗂 himself pointed to these filings and said, it's a clear sign that the launch is getting closer. And remember, the SEC actually asked these issuers to withdraw an older application format, that's the 19B-4 filings, because of the commission is now shifting to a new generic listing standards approach. That's bureaucratic jargon, but here is what it means. The SEC is basically okaying crypto ETFs in a more streamlined way, without needing a specific rule change for each and every one. So once the shutdown is over, well, the SEC could give a whole bunch of approvals all in one fell swoop, very quickly. If anything was holding them back, it was simply that no one was actually home in the office to sign the papers. Now, as one analyst put it, all of the prep work, means that the moment that the SEC resumes duties, XRP's ETFs will likely be among the first things to approve. Now, take a step back and consider how far we've come to reach this point. This is where it gets personal for me. Right, I remember the very first time that I bought XRP. It was early 2020, just after a pandemic crash. And I was an eager newcomer to crypto, right? XRP looked like the ticket to the future. It was fast, it was cheap, transactions and partnerships with some rather big banks, the whole 9 yards. Now, I threw in a little of what savings I had, dreaming of maybe, just maybe, a moonshot. For a while, things were pretty exciting. The price was climbing, the community, shout out to the XRP army, was hyped. And of course, then bam, December 2020, the SEC sued Ripple, claiming that XRP was an unregistered security. Now, I'm not going to lie, that news, it hit like a ton of bricks. Overnight, major exchanges started delisting XRP. The price had tanked, and I felt like I was holding a ticking time bomb. Friends, they told me that I was crazy to even keep on holding. Part of me thought that they were right? But a bigger part of me, the stubborn, optimistic part, said, you know what? I believe in XRP for a reason, right? And the tech, it hasn't changed. So I'm riding this out. So I held through 2021. When every other coin was rocketing to new heights, XRP was like the forgotten child because of that lawsuit. through 2022, right? When the bear market hit and everything was crashed kind of away, right? And then 2023 gave us a bit of a glimmer. XRP scored a partial victory in court. A judge basically said that XRP in itself is not a security. I mean, who knew, right? I know I was talking about it quite a bit. And at least for the secondary sales and sales on exchanges. I mean, man, that did feel a little vindicating, right? It was like after being in limbo for ages, XRP could finally breathe again. And exchanges started relisting it. The price had perked up, and suddenly XRP wasn't the kind of piranha of the crypto space anymore. Fast forward to today, never in the wildest dreams back in 2020, during the depths of the lawsuit uncertainty, did I imagine that in 2025 that we would be on the cusp of an XRP exchange-traded fund available to mainstream investors, in the US nonetheless. And an ETF, to me, always kind of seemed like something reserved for, well, the big boys, something that only maybe Bitcoin might get, or maybe Ethereum. The fact that XRP is now getting the best odds to actually be the next crypto with a spot ETF approved, if you had told me that back when XRP was stuck in legal purgatory, I'd probably have just chuckled and said that you were being way too optimistic. And yet, here we are. This is kind of really a testament to how much has actually changed. The crypto landscape is maturing here. Regulators slowly, grudgingly, started actually accepting that crypto isn't going to go away, and the XRP kind of shook off a lot of the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, through sheer persistence and community support. So why does an XRP ETF matter so much anyway? Well, it's not just about the price pop, no. Though, let's be honest, we're all thinking about that too, right? It's actually about the legitimacy and the access, right? An ETF, it means big institutions, pension funds, hedge funds, etc. They can actually put money into XRP easily because it's a regulated product. It means that Aunt Mary, who, has a kind of Charles Schwab's account, can go ahead and buy a piece of XRP's trust without ever actually touching a crypto wallet, probably without even knowing what XRP really even is. And that money can still flow into XRP's ecosystem indirectly. It's a bridge between the old finance world and the new. And the bridges, they tend to bring in a lot of traffic. For example, right, did you know that various XRP investment products overseas, things like exchange-traded products over in Europe, have already pulled in nearly $2 billion of flows this year alone? Now, according to CoinShares, it's about $1.96 billion year to date. That's without a US ETF. Just imagine what could happen with a US listed fund available. Right, we're talking potentially billions more in new exposure, if demand, of course, is there. Now, of course, whether that translates to XRP's price going up is a rather complex question, but basic supply and demand suggests that new big buyers generally doesn't really hurt the price that much, if you catch my drift. Now, before I go any further, let me just put this out there clearly and loudly. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Now, let's get back into it. See, while we wait on the government to get its act together and hopefully unleash the ETF flood, I've been busy on a little side quest in my little crypto journey here, something called Unity Nodes. Now, long-time viewers, you might recall that I've mentioned Unity in past videos, so it won't be a plot twist for many of you guys. But if you are new or need a bit of a refresher, Unity Nodes is essentially a community project that lets regular people participate in running a decentralized network using everyday devices, just like smartphones, right? And you get to earn crypto rewards in return. Think of it like mining or staking, but instead of fancy ASIC machines or locking up coins, you actually use your devices to make verification calls on the telecoms grid. And so you get to use these devices that you already own. And it's a pretty cool concept, right? Now, Unity is not the star of today's show, right, or story. Today is really just a subplot that's been kind of running in the background of my channel's narrative, right? I mean, because it's part of how I'm preparing for the future in a much broader sense, right? So here is the quick Unity update, right? Now, I know a lot of you guys have been asking, and I went ahead and I did buy a Unity Masternode NFT, which basically was like buying a license to run on the network, right? Now, that NFT, it came with 200 license NFTs, meaning that I can connect up to 200 devices to act as nodes, right? And I'm not going to set up all 200 on day one. Heck no, right? I'm going to start small, right? Once the Unity mobile app goes live, I plan to spin up these 10 mobile phones over here, that's on the desk, as a bit of a test run, right? These could be old smartphones or I have lying around, but these are actually new cheap ones that I found off Amazon, the ones that are just, running an Android. They're not the fanciest phones in the world, but they get the job done. Maybe if you have some old phones lying around that are just gathering dust, you might be able to put those to work too, right? Anyway, if that test goes well, and I see everything run smoothly and the rewards are as expected, then I'm going to consider scaling things up to more devices over time. You might be thinking, what's the incentive? Well, Unity lets you actually choose to be paid in various different cryptocurrencies. I'm personally going to be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, and XRP, and maybe a few others in the future. Basically, I'm going to be earning a little bit of the coins passively by contributing to the network. So in my eyes, it's a great way to stack more crypto over time without actually having to buy any more outright. Almost like staking, but providing a service. Now, I want to be super clear here. Unity nodes, like any other project, they come with risks and unknowns. Now, I'm excited about it, but I'm also treating it as an experiment. You've got to do your own research if this is something that intrigues you. Now, I'm going to put some links in the description down below to Unity's official website, where you'll find Unity's light paper and their rewards calculator so that you can dig into all of the details. You can check out things like how the system works, what the potential earnings are going to be, and more importantly, what the assumptions are and the risks are. Now, just because I'm testing it doesn't mean that it's right for everyone. I should also mention, because this is something that I've been working on for, at least with the community, right? I did purchase a second and third Unity node, and my plan is to lease out those licenses to people who are curious about Unity, but don't want to commit to a full master node of their own. So think of this as like node rental, right? You can essentially just borrow a license from me, run the Unity app on your own device, and you get a share of the rewards without having to buy the pricey NFT upfront yourselves. It might be something that's just generally out of your reach. So I'm going to have more information on this down on our website, linked in the description down below, and of course in our free educational Discord server. So if Unity is something that you've been on the fence about, then this might just be a low risk way to actually try it out again. Now again, details will be in the Discord and on the website. So feel free to ask me any questions down there. I'm happy to share everything that I've learned so far from the 10 phone pilot that I'm going to run and how that is going to be performing. So to wrap up this Unity segment, it's one piece of my much larger strategy to diversify and to build passive income with crypto. Now, we are all excited for big events like ETFs that could jump our portfolios overnight, right? But I also kind of like having these slow and steady growers in the background, just in case, right? Unity nodes to me is one of those slow and steady plays. Now, if it works, great. I'm going to earn some more Bitcoin, Ethereum, ADA, XRP. Hey, they've even partnered up with Polkadot, so maybe I'll get some DOT tokens too, right? And it's all without lifting a finger after the initial setup. So if it doesn't pan out, well, I learn something and I will just pivot. Now, there's no hype here, there's no guarantees, it's just experimentation, and I'm sharing my journey with you guys. Now, speaking of being prepared, let's talk about exchanges and why I treat them like Pokemon. You've got to catch them all. But okay, maybe not all of them, but as many good ones as I can. For example, I avoid FTX after everything that happened in 2022. If you're watching this and you don't know, you've got to do your own research on that one and avoid that exchange in my humble opinion. Anyway, there's some hard lessons that many of us have learned in previous bull runs and bear markets. So when the market does go nuts, exchanges can go down. It's almost a meme at this point, right? Bitcoin pumps 5K and in at least 5K in an hour, and suddenly Coinbase is potentially offline, right? Or, the market's looking pretty good, Solana's pumping, and then FTX decides to commingle some funds and then basically goes into liquidation, basically bankruptcy, and everyone who had their money on the FTX exchange lost everything. Yeah, that happened too. So, you might need to find some, or to get some cash urgently out of a market, or cash something in, or maybe even transfer something. And oops, that suddenly the exchange has suspended all of your withdrawals for maintenance, right? Believe me or not, that has actually happened to me more than once. And it's the worst possible feeling, right? A price move and then unable to do anything about it because you're stuck waiting on a single platform. I vowed to never be stuck again. So what did I do and continue to do is create an exchange contingency plan. I went out and I signed up for a whole bunch of reputable exchanges. Yes, did the full KYC on them all ahead of time, even if I don't plan to use them immediately. Right? I even made some small test deposits and withdrawals on each one to make sure that everything was working and basically have an account warmed up, if you will. Why? Because when everyone else is rushing to open up new accounts during a frenzy, I'll be calmly logging into my pre-verified backup account and getting stuff done. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, if you will. You're going to get the idea, right? If Exchange A is down or overloaded, I can move to Exchange B. And if Exchange B has issues, I can move to Exchange C. It's like diversifying not just your assets, but also your access and exit points for those assets too. In the description of this video and any of our videos, you will find a list of exchanges that I personally use and trust. Right now, there's a link to our website, and there you'll have all the exchanges listed. Each link on that website is there for you. Those are affiliate links, which basically means that if you do sign up with them, trade on them, then you will be supporting this channel here at no extra cost to yourself. And, there are some bonuses available depending on the jurisdictions that you're in and all the usual terms and conditions, which you can find on the website of each individual exchange. Now, I do want to kind of emphasize something here. I'm recommending these because I actually use them and they have been very reliable for me so far. It's not just because I have affiliate links for them, right? I can get an affiliate link for any exchange that I want, but these are the ones that I personally use. In fact, I have all of my affiliate links listed on that website for a reason, and it is for full transparency. Now, you'll find things like Blowfin, BitGet, and many others there. Again, those are platforms that I've vetted and that I have accounts on. Every affiliate link mentioned, I kind of make is always something that I personally use, right? It's part of an unofficial rule that I have with myself to maintain trust with all of you guys. And I always clearly state that they're affiliate links, right? Why I'm doing this? I like doing what I'm doing now, essentially, right? Because integrity really does matter. It's absolutely everything to us here, right? Plus, it keeps things like the FTC off our backs. It keeps everything with the YouTube and the FTC and other regulators compliant with what we do, which is really important as a content creator. Now, one exchange partnership that I'm really excited to share with you guys, and this is time sensitive, and it is with Kraken, right? Yes, that Kraken, right? Because I have teamed up with Kraken to bring you a very special promotion. If you sign up with my Kraken link that is in the description down below, and you trade at least $100 worth of any cryptocurrency, excluding stablecoins, within 30 days of signing up, well, Kraken are going to reward you with $25 bonus in XRP. Yeah, $25 worth of XRP just dropped into your account as a reward. This is literally free XRP for doing what you might have done anyway, right? Making a trade. Now, the reason that I'm pushing this now is actually kind of twofold, maybe three, right? It's a great way to stack a little bit more XRP, especially if you believe in the long-term value like I do. And two, it's a perfect example of what I was actually just talking about, getting yourself set up on another solid exchange before the next wave really hits. Now, for those who don't know, Kraken is one of the OGs. It's a highly reputable exchange that is out there. Even if you mainly trade elsewhere, it never hurts to have a Kraken account ready as a backdrop, right? It's one of the very few that's actually regulated in the United States. Now, as maybe even using Kraken as your main account, because they are genuinely that good, by the way. And of course, if you're going to set it up, you might as well snag $25 of XRP for free whilst you're at it, right? Now, this is a limited time offer, by the way, so I have more details and the exact terms linked in the description down below, and Kraken's T's and C's linked in the description, so you know exactly what the deal is, because not every jurisdiction is going to be eligible, so do make sure you pay attention to the terms and conditions. But in short, invest $100, get $25 in XRP. It's not a bad way to kind of bolster your holdings, right? Just remember to use the special link so that they know that I sent you, and that lets Kraken know that the promotion is working. Plus, it supports the channel here. It's actually a win-win-win situation. You get free XRP in an exchange, Kraken gets a new user, and because you're signing up with my affiliate link, we get a small kickback from Kraken as well to support the channel. Win-win-win. Also, just a quick shout out while we're here for 𝗗𝗀𝘀 and for BitGet, because I did mention them earlier, but to be really clear, those are also affiliate links, that support the channel. Now, both of these exchanges I use quite regularly. BitGet in particular, I've used for a lot of altcoin trades because I can use the APIs via TradingView, so I can trade directly on BitGet from a TradingView account. And it's been pretty smooth so far. 𝗗𝗀𝘀 is another platform that is out there, not as big as Coinbase or, of the world, but it is like having accounts on a whole range of different exchanges, right? As I've said, they each sometimes have different coins that are listed or different features. So having options is always going to be key here. So if you sign up for any via my links, I just want to say a big thank you because it genuinely does help keep this content coming for you guys. But of course, there is no pressure. The point still stands. The main thing is, get yourself prepared. Don't wait for until XRP is hopefully going wild post-ETF news and then scramble to create accounts while the verification backlog are like 2 weeks long, right? Trust me, that happened a lot of people back in 2017 and 2021's bull runs. People literally missed out on big opportunities because they couldn't get verified in time or couldn't move funds when needed. So learn from the collective past mistakes and just be proactive. All right, let's bring this back to the big picture. Here's where we stand. Right, any day now, we could get news that the US government is back open for business. That news might seem boring on the surface of things, right? Congress passes a budget, blah, blah, blah. But to us, in crypto, it's actually like someone just announced the starting bell of a race, right? The moment that the SEC is fully operational again, the clock starts ticking loudly. Will they approve a bunch of, crypto ETFs immediately? Will it take days? Will it take weeks? We don't know exactly, but all the signs point to sooner rather than later. The fact that multiple spot XRP ETF applications are literally just sitting there, updated and ready, it tells me that it's not an if, it's actually a when. And I'll be honest, even as an optimist, I'm trying to keep my expectations measured. I don't want to scream to the moon and then have everyone disappointed if things play out slower. But at the same time, it's hard not to feel the excitement here. As an XRP holder who's been through all of the drama, the idea of seeing XRP on major stock exchange tickers, maybe on the New York Stock Exchange or even NASDAQ, is going to just be surreal. I find myself constantly refreshing news feeds, checking Twitter or X, whatever we're going to call it now, and at least for any kind of hint of progress, right? Now, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰nci's 2-week window has essentially put me and a lot of the XRP community in a heightened state of alert. Right? We're basically on countdown mode. And that brings a mix of emotions, hope, anxiety, and a bit of, is this really happening? Like the night before a potential life-changing event where you can't fully sleep. Now, I know that might sound dramatic, but hey, I'm just being real with all of you guys about how it feels from the side of at least this side of the screen, right? If and when the news breaks, I'm probably be doing a bit of a reaction video because that's a moment that's kind of been years in the making. Let's not forget, right? XRP has often been the underdog in the US due to the lawsuit baggage, and ETF approval would be like a redemption arc in XRP's own story, right? It would signal that yes, XRP has grown up and earned a seat at the big kids' table of finance. For broader crypto, it also is pretty huge. It shows regulators expanding their comfort zones beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum. If XRP can get an ETF, then maybe others like Cardano or Solana will basically just follow suit. And that means that the whole crypto market matures in the eyes of Wall Street. In fact, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍's meme didn't just have XRP behind the dam, it had other spot crypto ETFs too. Word is that there are also things like Litecoin, Solana, Cardano ETFs, Filings queued up too. So we might see multiple floodgates opening all at once. Just imagine a news day where XRP, Solana, Litecoin, ADA, ETFs all get approved together. That would be one for the history books. Right, crypto's big bang, if you will, day or something like that. Again, not guaranteeing it, but the stage is set for something just like that. Now, a gentle reminder, when big news hits, markets can get crazy. We could see XRP's price shoot up. We could also weirdly see some dips if traders have bought the rumor and sold the news. Right? We could see volatility go through the roof. My plan in those moments is to stay calm and to stick for at least to what I've kind of prepared. I have my exchanges at the ready. I have some targets in mind for profit taken because yes, I do plan to take a little profit off of the table if we pump insanely. There's no shame in that, by the way. You've got to secure the bag sometimes. But I also am ready to hold on for dear life, hodl, with a core position because my end game with XRP has always been long term. This potential ETF is a big milestone, but it's not the finish line for me. It's more like the start of a new chapter. And what a journey it has been, and continues to be. Right, I started this video with a meme about a dam, and I want to end it with that imagery because it's so fitting. Right? We XRP holders have been gathering behind this dam for what feels like an eternity. Drop by drop, bit by bit, the pressure has been building. Regulatory clarity slowly improving, institutional interest quietly growing, community conviction never really faltering. Right, at least we are the water, if you will, and the dam was the obstacles, the lawsuit, the skepticism, and yes, this government shutdown. But dams, they don't hold forever. Eventually, either someone opens the gates or the dam breaks on its own. Either way, that water will find its way through. Right? It feels like right now, at least it feels right now, like someone is about to kind of crank open the gates. And I hope that you're ready for the rush because when it gets going, it's really going to get going. And I hope that everyone can be ready. Now, this is the part of the story where we don't have the ending actually written yet. Will the next 2 weeks prove 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍 right and deliver us an XRP ETF? Will it take a bit longer? Will we find out together, right? Well, we will, I should say. And I do promise you this, right? The second that I know, you're going to know. I'm going to be here to break it all down and what it means for all of us XRP holders. No matter what happens next, I'm grateful to be on this journey with a community that is as passionate as you guys, and at times maybe even as crazy as I am. And it's those kind of shared experiences, the late night debates on Discord, the "did you see that news" DMs, the collective groan at the FUD articles, the collective cheer at a court win. That makes this more than just an investment. It's genuinely a shared adventure. So whether you're as optimistic as me or a little bit more cautious, like my friend Vincent, Mr. Give It 4 weeks, keep your eyes peeled. This story of XRP, it is not over, not by a long shot. In many ways, it's just getting to the good part, and I, for one, am thrilled to be here. Front row seat, popcorn in hand, figuratively speaking. Since I don't drink coffee or anything like that, I won't be using that old cliche of needing caffeine for this level of excitement. If you have enjoyed joining me on this little XRP adventure today, then don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button for me. And you can drop a comment down below or join us in the Discord with your thoughts on when you think the XRP spot ETFs will launch. And I guess to kind of finish this off, you should probably be thinking about staying safe, staying curious out there because, this is a pretty wild space to be in. And you know what? I'll catch you all in the next one.